You are watching and listening to episode 72 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. Today, I give a little history lesson. Dave takes his moment to gloat about an irrelevant football team, and then we'll spend time properly talking about LeBron, as we should, because really, there's nothing else that happened in LA sports that warrants even more than a 5-minute discussion. I'm Carlos. That's Dave. What's going on?
It's a true story. It's been a decent week. I did end up buying some aforementioned LA Dodgers championship gear.
About damn time.
You know what I was really annoyed with though? So I don't know. I'm sure you're aware of this because one, you are knowledgeable in the ways of the world.
I am.
And two, you online shop.
Hmm.
Did you know there's a different MLB shop for Canada and the United States?
Yes, it's so the difference is MLB Shop US is MLB Shop, and MLB Shop Canada is Bargain Basement MLB Shop. Yes.
Yeah, which is pretty much it.
Correct.
So I went on to the MLB Canada shop, right? Okay, put in an order again, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? There's so much more stuff that they have on the other one.
Yep.
Even championship gear.
Correct.
That I would like, and sometimes they don't have the size or whatever. So I was like, okay. Plus, I wanted to get something for George, which they only had on the US site.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just put in 2 orders, whatever. That's fine. I can do that. Nope. The US store will not ship that stuff to Canada.
Of course not. No, absolutely not. They want you to go to the Canadian shop, which doesn't have the stuff.
Which is bullshit, Carlos.
Okay, you know what? I actually have. So you know what? This is an opportunity. Go ahead.
Can I go?
Go ahead.
I need to finish them because it relates to something we've talked about forever. I may be in the same, maybe even a worse situation eventually. Maybe not right now, but eventually than you, Carlos. The championship DVD, which I tried to order, is in HD, first of all. But second of all, is only available on the US store. So I might not be able to get my HD championship DVD, Carlos.
Well,
joining
fortunately,
you with the Green Bay Packers Super Bowl.
Although, really, I should let you stew and suffer, which is the right thing to do. As a proper friend, that is what I should allow you to do. But I will tell you that I am in the process of doing some examinations, some experiments. And if I am correct, if I complete this process, I may have a solution to this problem.
Pick a new team?
Well, that would help. But there's another solution to this problem, a different solution to this problem. I'm playing around right now on my own YouTube website. I'm looking at a couple of different mail forwarding options that allow you to have a U.S. address, which in turn allows you to order shit, gets it sent to the U.S. address from where you can have them ship it to you.
Okay.
So that would kind of resolve the problem. It's like the equivalent of having an American friend who can order it for you. But instead, they do it professionally, but at the same time, they also do it professionally, which means you don't have to rely on a flaky friend.
This is good.
Yeah, so we'll talk more once I get a chance to finally complete it, and I'll also inquire as well, because I would be shocked if you couldn't buy swag. They tend to focus on cards mostly, but it's one of those things where I wouldn't have a problem asking, like, hey, if I ordered some like sports swag, would you take it in and ship it to me? And if the answer is yes, well, there you go, problem solved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be a simple way. And if it's a good service, right now half the service is good. I can vouch for half. But then the other half, I got to complete it. So I'm doing a review, and I'll do a video about the whole review and everything as well.
Nice.
That's part of what I'm doing. But I got to finish trying it out. Right now, I'm halfway through the process of trying it out. I'll report back my findings, and that might be a solution to your problem.
I appreciate it. But I will tell you this, because this is just a golden thing that happens in life. So one of the I got. So what they did have on the Canadian website is they had 3 onesies for George, as a package, right? So I was going to order the championship, World Series championship onesie for him. But instead I ordered the package of 3 for the same price that I would have paid for just the World Series one. So there was a win there. Otherwise, it's been a good week. I totally even sort of forgot about Halloween. I've never been a huge Halloween guy. Obviously, I went when I was a kid. I went on trick-or-treating and all that stuff. But, it's weird because it's obviously not the same because of COVID. But I don't really miss very much of that. But the one cool thing we did is in town here, they have the BIA does a scarecrow walk where each local business puts up a scarecrow. And then if you can win prizes and whatnot, well, the kids can. Obviously, George is too young for that. But we did go. My mom, my wife, and my son and I went and did that walk. It was pretty cool. So props to the watered down BIA for that.
Exciting.
How was your week, my friend?
I was all right. I think work settled down for the most part. Now it's just we settled into a bit of a routine. It's one of those deals where I think it's just because we're getting close to November. We're getting close to the end of the year. We're gonna get into the holidays and stuff. We did do our Halloween parties via Microsoft Teams, as you do. So I had a spooky background for it because basically it's like, oh, Carlos, you can wear a costume or you can put a spooky background. Spooky background it is. To the Google. What's the least amount of effort I can do? I'm going to download this picture and put it in the background. Nice. All right.
Did you pick the first picture that came up?
I think for one of them, I picked the first picture, and then because there were two different ones. There was one for my specific team, and then there's one for the team in general because there's two different groups.
Yeah.
So you couldn't use the same one for both because they both were slightly different. But yeah, I had one which is generic, like a witch and like some ghosts floating up and like some pumpkins and stuff. So that was one, and then the other one was like the sign from Camp Crystal Lake, from the actual Camp Crystal Lake in New Jersey. It was supposed to be a movie reference. So I put it there. I'm like, I'm not gonna explain what it is. Read it.
I like it. I would have appreciated that if I was in the meeting because I would have got that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the whole point for that one.
Yeah, that was the whole point was to be like, all right, you want a movie reference? Here you go. That's all, and I'm not going to explain it until you guys figure it out. It took a couple of moments, and then they figured it out, and then they said, yeah, this is the actual place in New Jersey where they filmed it, and they put up a real sign for it. Now it's a tourist attraction. You can go hang out if you really want to. And they're like, have you ever been there? I'm like, no, I haven't visited New Jersey to go visit Camp Crystal Lake.
Have you even been in New Jersey?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Why on planet Earth? Listen, New Jersey's, I'm sure, perfectly fine. But it's no sunny, scenic Tonawanda.
Few places are, Carlos. Places are.
Although the Tonawanda story did come up in a meeting this week. And then I got to explain the story of sunny, scenic Tonawanda.
You know what? It's amazing the staying power of sunny, scenic Tonawanda.
It's the story that keeps on giving. It's the, it's the hilarity of it. It's the enjoyment. You got to do it. I will say one other thing, though, not related to that. I did get down one of my standard YouTube rabbit holes. And our good friends at Retro Ontario, you may be familiar with that YouTube channel.
I am familiar with Retro Ontario.
So there were a couple of different things on there. And they actually did like a YTV Fright Night live stream last night. I don't know if you caught that. They did clipped together some clips from, you remember YTV used to do the Fright Night or whatever it was called? Something like Dark Night. Dark Night is what it was. But yeah, it was like the Halloween themed, whatever. And they would do like a little skit. They would be interspersed between shows and all that stuff. And then they had a bunch, although they didn't include the shows, they would include the little skits and then put a bunch of the old commercials from the time period that was done appropriately to the time period. So you got a lot of Goosebumps commercials, a lot of Maniac Mansion commercials, and a lot of Erie, Indiana, and a lot of the shows that YTV was playing at the time. And I just started chuckling. I watched it for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I was like, all right, this is enough of these commercials. I saw them the first time. We're good.
Still neat, though.
Yeah, it was. And it was it was a live stream. You could kind of tune in and watch it. You could fast forward or go backwards anytime you wanted. And they were airing it all evening. Like it was for like 5 or 6 hours they were airing it, kind of just as an ongoing playback. So that was kind of cool. But Retro Ontario has a lot of interesting stuff on there, including old commercials and all that. But one of the areas that I got into that made me chuckle a little bit, I had some fun with it, was they had a lot of they had some old episodes of Electric Circus. Do you remember Electric Circus?
I do remember Electric Circus.
Yeah, so I watched a couple of the episodes just to get a bit of a chuckle. And I was like, oh, man. Well, 2 things I come to the conclusion of this. Number 1, I'm old. Number 2, read number 1. Because I was like, yeah, I remember this shit. I remember when this episode aired or when this specific whatever, this band was on there or because there was a lot of dance music. But it was on Friday nights they used to play this, or on Saturdays sometimes as well. Because that was the original run of Electric Circus. But here's the thing that shocked me that I didn't realize. Do you know when they aired the last regular series episode of Electric Circus?
No, I have no idea.
That was an extensive time delay for that. You could have gone with no. Anyway, 2003 was the last time they aired an episode of Electric Circus. And I was like, 17 years ago? Am I that old?
Wow. You just made me feel super old.
You know who was hosting the last episode, though? Amanda Walsh.
No. Who?
Amanda Walsh.
And what's she do now?
She's been... Amanda Walsh is in her 40s at this point.
Oh, man.
So she's got a family, she's got a kid and everything. And I was like, oh, my God. I was basically the same. Like, what happened to Amanda Walsh? I just started typing it in. And then I found the Instagram. I was like, yeah, I'm old. Memories.
Yep.
And I think the co-host was Rainbow Sun Franks.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. Yeah. And I was like, I remember Rainbow Sun Franks. And I was like, crap.
I don't.
Oh, I do. I remember. He was one of those ones in the early 2000s they had on there, and I was like, wow, ooh, ooh. That was an interesting rabbit hole to go down. I was like, man, that was a long time ago. Ooh. And then watching some of the mid 90s ones, I was like, oh man, that was a long time ago. And it's like, yeah, I saw that shit. I know. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So they had that. And then I think they also had episodes of like Ed the Sock's Late Night Party or whatever it was.
Nice. I
And
remember that.
yeah, and also, but it was funny because I was like, yeah, one of the people I went to elementary school with was on that show as a dancer. And I was like,
Cool.
yep. Hashtag we're old. And that's how you know. Good old retro Ontario reminded me that. It was an interesting rabbit hole for a little bit though. I got a kick out of it because it kind of brought me also. It also kind of prompted me to look at this. Yeah. So when exactly did MuchMusic stop being Music Channel, like officially?
Right.
When they
Yeah.
went to Much, I think it was like 2006, 2007. I'm like, man, it's been like 14 years.
Jeez.
Damn. Some of the students in Dave's class weren't even born. Damn.
I know. I do that every once in a while. I'll make a reference to something, and the kids will kind of give me a strange look, and then right. And I think it was one time I referenced Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Remember that show?
Oh God, dude, that's really asking for it.
But I didn't realize it was that old, right?
It was so old.
And so then I was like, all right, just let me Google this. So I Googled it. This was a few years ago, mind you. It wasn't like this year, but still. And I Googled it, and it's like, oh, that show ended the year before you were born.
Yeah, correct. That is factually correct. Yes, yes, indeed. While you're at it, why don't you ask him about Boy Meets World, the original show?
I knew. See, that one I knew though. I knew it was that old. For whatever reason, I didn't realize Hanging with Mr. Cooper was that old.
It's like, what's your favorite episode of Family Matters? It's like Full House, crickets, nothing.
Well,
Dang.
the Full House they might get now though because of the new one. So
They did make a remake. That's true. They did make
Right.
like a continuation remake or whatever.
Yeah. So that reference may not go over everybody's head.
Well, they did do a continuation series of Boy Meets World as well. It was Girl Meets World.
Yeah, but did anybody watch that?
Whoever had like Disney or Family Channel or whatever was on.
Oh,
It was on
fair
something
enough.
like that.
All right.
Yeah, it wasn't like on regular TV, but demographically, probably. Question mark? I don't know. They got Corey and Topanga back, so that's cool. So yeah, what are you gonna do?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So the show's been on. The show was too damn long ago when they did the original series set in high school. They did the college years. Basically, they had the continuation of the series in college, and then they were able to do a revival episode where it's like, yeah, so now you have teenage children, and I'm like, dang. All right. So there you go. This segment is brought to you by #we're old.
Exactly.
Indeed. All right. So let's get into some. All right. Let's do the self-indulgent Dodgers talk. What do you got to say about your loser team finally winning a thing?
Well, you can't call them loser team now. They actually did win something.
No, they're still kind of losers.
And they didn't. There were moments, believe me, throughout the playoff. Well, throughout the NLCS and a couple times in the World Series where I was like, here we go again. But they didn't fuck it up.
Well, I think in fairness, the narrative is like the Dodgers got out Dave Roberts.
Pretty
It's
much.
He's like, I have taken your lessons, Mr. Roberts, and now I am the teacher.
Well, and this, I think this goes to a larger point as to one of the 4 things ish I want to talk about this series. I know you only want to talk about for 5 minutes, so see how much we can cram in there. But
I'll give you more than 5 minutes, but it better be good.
But it was my brother's text to me, and he said his response was like, he made some kind of congratulatory remarks about the Dodgers. I'm happy they won for you or whatever kind of thing. And then he was like, I hate baseball. And his reason he said that is because of analytics, right? And what they're doing to the game, right? And that also goes to the point of view where you're like, never go full money ball. And I feel that you're just gonna keep taking. I love this. I feel like I'm on CNN now, where it's like every time somebody says something.
But you realize that my doing this means that you have to force your brother to watch this episode.
For sure. I will.
Like literally, if you have to physically force him in front of a screen, you must do it.
I got you, man. I got you.
Like it's the right thing to do.
Right, but it was the thing that bugged me about it most, and obviously I'm happy that Kevin Cash did it because I feel that's the largest reason the Dodgers won that game. Right. And even the Dodger players, especially Mookie Betts, was like, as soon as he took Blake Snell out, we're like, whew, we got this now. right? Like they felt a sense of relief when he came out of the game. Now, before the game, Kevin Cash says, we're not just going to go strictly on the numbers. We're going to do the eye test, whatever. And he did a whole big thing about that in his pregame interviews, probably multiple times. And then when he gets one on in the sixth?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
right. I think he's got one out and one on in the sixth, and here comes Kevin Cash. And you're like, why are you taking this guy out? They've had two guys hit for the entire game, both not great contact, kind of like blue, lucky kind of singles, right? And the next three guys that are coming up, you've already struck out twice each.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, obviously, we'd all look like you second guess yourself because it blew up in his face. If it hadn't blown up in his face, then fair enough. It might have worked out. My whole thing, the other part of that though is why did he bring? It was Anderson that he brought in.
I believe I can look it up, but I believe that's right.
Right, and it's like, why are you bringing in Anderson? Like to me, I'm like, bring in Diego Castillo.
That's to me. Why bring in anybody? Let the man pitch.
No, I agree.
Based on pitch count, based on the timing of the situation, generally speaking, yes, you don't want the guy to start getting hit all of a sudden. But if they start hitting him hard, then yes, then you respond accordingly and do something. But it's like the urge was strong. It felt like in the course of the game that he was looking for an excuse to pull him, rather than being like, well, let's make sure we need to pull him at the appropriate moment. You have to gauge the situation. Yeah. If the guy is not in no danger, then don't pull him.
Right. And it's the same thing. I have no issue with somebody even being in the bullpen, like, somebody warming up. So if something goes, you can put him in right away.
That was my suggestion for the Dodgers. If you remember, my exact words were have somebody ready in the event there's an issue, because that way you don't have to wait too long, a couple of pitches too long. You can stall for a couple of moments and then have somebody out there almost immediately if you need to.
Right.
That's just being prudent.
They did do that.
Yeah.
The Rays, but they didn't need to bring Blake Snell out. He wasn't in trouble.
No, not in that situation.
I feel like, especially if you're a Rays fan, you probably must feel that that's unforgivable. Right now, who knows if a game 7, if it went to game 7, who would have won? Also, who knows if there would have been? We might still be waiting based on what happened after the game, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let's put it this way: in terms of summing it up. First of all, I hate analytics when people just go strictly on the analytics. I feel there are things that obviously help the game, and looking for, undervalued players and things like that. Solid. Right. But, when your only defense of anything is WAR, or this is what the numbers say, I don't have a lot of respect for that, because I feel even if it helps you win, it takes away the joy of the game. Right. I think it's one of the reasons, maybe not the only reason, but correct me if I'm wrong, because it speaks to me, but I think it speaks to you, but I want to make sure it actually does.
Okay.
Is why you find so much more joy sometimes in lower levels of the game.
The reason I enjoy lower levels of the game is actually very simple. It really comes down to, in those lower levels of the game, what you're getting is it still can be a professional game. That's super key. Like, it can still be professional baseball, but because they don't have the requirements of television, because they're not accommodating to television, they're not interspersing commercial. They're not trying to monetize every second of the game. We're actually just playing baseball. And in the course of it, you've got some standard stuff. You've got banners out in the outfield. They're not immune to the necessity of making a living and making money for the club. But at the same time, it's not being thrown in your face every 3 seconds. Maybe you put it on the program. Maybe you stick some logos on the ticket. Like, you do stuff that you have, put it on the damn uniform. I don't care. But I then have a choice to ignore it if I don't want to. But the game itself is not being impacted. When every call to the bullpen necessitates basically a timeout, because if the guy was in the bullpen, and this is just logic, I'm being logical here. If the guy's in the bullpen warming up, by the time he comes out, he is warmed up. He doesn't need more than about 2 or 3 pitches just to get acclimated to the mound, and then he can start pitching. Mm-hmm. But the reason why he's re-warming up on the mound is because he needs to kill time. He needs to kill time in terms of trying to be like, well, we're in commercial break anyway. So, the reality is, when I'm watching the baseball product that is being presented to me on TV, I'm getting a product where I'm already paying for the cable or for the internet or for the streaming or for whatever, I'm already putting money in. And then in addition to that, I'm being forced to then watch additional commercials, additional things. Like, I'm not buying the product. If I wanted the product, I'd buy the product. I'm inundated with ads all the time. I'm immune to them. You can show me a commercial. I'm not listening. I have the audio off because I don't want to listen to the commentators because they're terrible. So I'm not hearing your ad anyway. Like, you can have the thing playing on the screen. I'm already back looking at my phone. So, that's kind of the reality is that you're not going to get the same experience with the MLB product. And the unfortunate part is that also has now gone into the live experience. So even when I go to a Major League game live, I still get those same commercials. I still get those same, breaks. I still get those same television timeouts, because the truth is, no matter how you want to present it, it's not baseball. And it took me a minute. I need to make sure I got my banner proper.
Yeah, no worries, man. We got the banner. It's good.
But you see what I'm trying to get at right there in the bottom, in a nutshell. That's my issue. It's not real baseball. It's a baseball facsimile. It's an approximation. They're playing sort of baseball in stretches and then turning it off. And it's like, okay, so we're going call to the bullpen. It's like, okay, well then go get the guy in the bullpen, let him throw 2 or 3 pitches, and then get back to pitching. Mm-hmm. The delay shouldn't be more than about 30 seconds. You shouldn't have time to play a commercial because it's too fast. Baseball games, professional baseball games used to be under 2 hours. Under. And those pitchers pitched 50 million innings.
That's true.
So it's like, how did they do it? Well, because they weren't taking 5,000 breaks. Now, the reason that those pitchers were also pitching so many innings is because they also didn't throw 100% on every pitch. They were pitching. You could actually strike somebody out with an 80-mile-an-hour fastball if you really wanted to, if you positioned it correctly and you set it up with the previous pitches. You could totally do that. You don't need 100
You still could.
There are pitchers. Jamie Moyer's career lasted 400 years. He couldn't throw at 90 for the second half of it. There was a time in his career where he could throw 90, 95 miles an hour. He was one of those guys. But then eventually he wasn't able to. And guess what? He kept pitching for years.
He learned the art of finesse.
Yeah. In his late 30s and early 40s, he was a 20-game winner. How? Well, because he knew how to pitch. Cy Young would have blown out his arm like 200 wins in because he would have been forced to throw 100 miles an hour and he would have blown out his arm. So would Walter Johnson. So would a lot of these guys. Yeah, Walter Johnson was the guy that they think could throw kind of similar to today's like fireball pitchers. But at the same time, he didn't throw 100% on every pitch. Otherwise, he would have blown out his arm, just like everybody else. The only genetic freak that threw 100% all the time and still somehow lasted was Nolan Ryan. That's it. Everybody else that threw that many innings and pitched in that many games and had that many complete games, every one of them had their arm fly off its socket.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Right. And as you said, like Nolan Ryan was a genetic freak. In that
because otherwise your alternative is that somehow magically, without medical science, without modern medicine, without any of the things that we have today, somehow the people of the early 1900s, the people of the pitchers of the 19th century were genetically superior to the current ones. They were just better because somehow they could keep pitching even after their arms fell off. I don't think that's true. I think their arms didn't fall off, some of them, because they knew how to pitch properly. They knew how to pitch intelligently. And when they figured that out, they're like, wait, so I don't have to throw 100% on every single pitch? I just need to get the guy out? Yeah. The job is actually get the guy out. I don't care if you throw 100.
Well, I think part of that is the focus on the strikeout as well today now, right? More so than it's not so much that you have to get the guy out, but you have to strike him out.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's not necessarily good pitching. That's not efficient pitching necessarily. You don't have to do that. You could, but there's no real reason. So to put it in perspective, Cy Young had 2,800 strikeouts. So not quite 3,000, but pretty good. But he also won 511 games.
Yep.
And his career ERA was 2.63.
Those are pretty fantastic numbers. There's a reason the award's named after him.
Yeah, like it's pretty good. It'll work. And that was the thing. Like he was never like a big strikeout guy, but he would win. And he'd win game after game, year after year, do it consistently and do it well. And he pitched 7,000 innings in his career. Mm-hmm. Today, you can't do that throwing 100% unless you do, in fact, enjoy having Tommy John every other year. That's basically the way it was.
Well, I
I'm just
mean,
trying.
look at all the pitchers now that have Tommy John coming out of college or going into college. They have it as a teenager,
Yeah. And
right? When
here's
they
the
don't
other,
need it, they're just like, it's probably going to happen eventually, so why not have it now?
yeah, and
That's crazy.
I was looking for the other stat here. I found it. He had 749 complete games in his career.
That's insane.
749 complete games. That's how you get 500 wins. When you have complete game after complete game after complete game, the result's yours. You're going to have the results because you're going to be the guy. And then you look at
number 2 on that list
on complete games.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where the drop off occurs.
Well, it's going to be another guy in that era. I'll find it. But in the meantime, you get kind of my general point, though. Like that's my thesis here is that Major League Baseball right now is a painful exercise to watch because of that. That's really the rationale for it. And again, it's not that I hate baseball. To the contrary, I love baseball. I enjoy baseball. I get great personal pleasure in the little things. I get great personal pleasure in watching this guy play. Dave knows.
That's Juan Soto. He's showing up. That's a card. It's a Juan Soto card. A lot of gold on it, and it's 1 of 10.
Beautiful. It's so pretty. But anyway, the point is that I still love the game of baseball, but Major League Baseball tries its best to wreck it for me.
Is baseball your favorite, or is football your favorite?
Oh no, baseball's way my favorite.
Yeah.
Easily, not even close.
All right,
not even close. So I'll find it here. But in the meantime, let's keep talking.
So let me go on, and I guess I'll tell you the sort of one point I want to make about the Dodgers and sort of and what I did this week is something I've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
I called in to MLB Network Radio on their morning show.
Goddamn, son!
And I got in. I was they were taking calls, and I called, and I was the second person on. So I didn't even have to I wasn't even late for work. I was able to do the call on my drive. So it was with Steve Phillips and CJ Nikowski. Mm-hmm. And the point they were making, or trying to get people calling, was: is there an asterisk on the season, or is there, more importantly, an asterisk on the Dodgers championship, on the World Series? And I said no, absolutely not. There isn't. And I said the reason is because you can only play what's in front of you, and you can only deal with what's in front of you, right? And I said it's interestingly enough that this has already happened to the Dodgers once. Their 1981 World Series, where they beat the Yankees, happened in a similar situation, to the sense that the season was different and stuff had happened that had never happened before, right? It was a strike season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the strike was in the middle of the season. Yep. So what they ended up doing is they had the division series for the first time, and the way they did it that time was the winner of the first half of the season in the division, whereas they still had just East and West, played the winner of the division the second half. So
you're talking about 1981, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
didn't I reference this already, in a previous podcast? Okay, just making sure.
I'm just going through my call.
Okay, fine. So you did cite Carlos's brilliance in bringing this up, right?
No, I didn't cite Carlos's brilliance.
Oh, this is lame. All right, so like I said, read the screen.
Time on air, man. You got to make the screen.
Read the screen.
I see. I read it.
Everyone needs to know this is what's actually happening now. Please continue.
But the point is, right, is that the Expos played the Phillies, the Dodgers played whoever they played. I can't remember who they played. And then the Expos end up playing the Dodgers. Blue Monday happened. Dodgers go to the World Series to beat the Yankees. There's no asterisk on 1981, and there shouldn't be any asterisk on 2020. I said the only thing that makes it weird for me in terms, the Dodgers are the best team, and they played like the best team, and they played like the best team throughout the playoffs. And Tampa Bay was the best record in the American League. So, you know what I mean? Would it have been different? Would we have felt it if it had been, Blue Jays versus Brewers in the World Series? Probably. Although you still have to get through the playoff format, so maybe not. But the point is, the only asterisk thing that there is to me is how I feel about it afterwards. I don't think you can do anything that takes away from the championship on the field and the way they played. Right? But the whole Justin Turner testing positive for COVID and then coming back on the field and then taking a bunch of pictures with no mask on, kissing his wife, who may or may not be infected already, right? Sitting beside Dave Roberts, who is a cancer survivor, who has an elevated risk of catching COVID-19 because he's a cancer survivor, hugging a bunch of his teammates. And then everyone's like, well, we wanted him on the field. He hasn't said anything about it since. The only thing that we've really heard, he put a tweet out saying, thanks for the good wishes. Well, he was still in the 5 minutes he was in quarantine, and then he comes back on the field. And the way I feel about it now, it's like, am I allowed to celebrate this? Because, dude, what the fuck, man? like Turner's like one of the best guys on the team, heart and soul kind of guy. And now I'm like, I don't even know if I like this guy anymore.
Mm.
Right? Because that was really, really dumb.
Mm.
And I think he takes and owns most of the responsibility for that. But in the long run, once he was tested positive, it didn't look like he fought going off the field. He went and he isolated. Fucking put him in a cab, take him back to the hotel, or straight onto a plane and fly him home. Whatever you got to do. But there's no reason that he should ever have to make a decision to come back on the field.
So you suggesting that Major League Baseball, spearheaded by this, did not take the lead in making sure that the situation was proper, that the situation was correct, that the decision making was taken out of the man's hands? Because, not to be morbid about this, but it would serve them right if someone got sick, and I mean horrifically sick, and suffered because of Justin Turner's actions. It would serve them right. That would be poetic justice. And I'm sure that would take some of the wind out of the sails. Like, whose fault is that? There's a lot of responsibility to go around. For me, I don't. Here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. I take the COVID situation seriously in the sense that a lot of us in Canada do. Not everybody, but a lot of us do. Not because I'm particularly worried about myself, but it is because you have to be wary of these things. And I, like a lot of folks, have different people in our families and extended families that would be that would not do well to catch COVID in situations like that. So that's kind of, we're thinking mostly of those people.
Absolutely.
As far as Justin Turner, I don't care if he infects the whole damn team, they all die. I don't care. That's not going to bother me in the slightest. But then I would point all the responsibility to Justin Turner. Because like I said, but also Major League Baseball has a responsibility there to think. As soon as you've got a player like that, it is the league's job, as far as I'm concerned, to make sure you take care of the arrangements. You tested positive, get out. It's for your own good. It's for everybody's good. Just go home. Get out. They should have gotten them the damn plane ticket. Just go. Vamoose. I think I hold the league responsible for not taking that out of the Dodgers' hands. It shouldn't even be the Dodgers' call at that point. It'd be like, nope, you're out. See you later. And then you wouldn't have that issue. Do you get what I'm saying?
I mean, exactly. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like everything you're saying there is because, right? Because it didn't. I blame Turner for making it a thing, but I also blame MLB for having the opportunity to prevent it from ever being a thing.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't have to be a thing at all. And they gave him a choice, kind of. I mean, they didn't really. They said get off the field or whatever. But somehow he got back on the field. Like, how do you get back on the field? There's that question too. Well, I think he's going to be suspended. I think he's going to be fined. And I think the Dodgers. I think that is fair and should happen. And I also think that the Dodgers should be fined. The thing that I think that pisses me off the most is there's no contrition right now. Turner hasn't said he's sorry in any kind of in at all, and neither has the Dodgers organization. And I feel both of those things need to happen. I'm not sure if they will, based on the individuals involved.
No,
but I've definitely, at the very least, there's a lot of people that I lost a lot of respect for in the span of 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, I get you. But the reality is that right now, like I said, professional sports is dealing with this weird middle ground because they say what they need to say, but they don't take it seriously. They don't. They kind of do what they have to do to avoid legal liability. Now, mind you, by letting him on the field, you've reopened legal liability. Like I said, it just takes one person who's particularly vulnerable to it to die from it. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. And if we trace it back to Justin Turner on the field at that moment, which wouldn't be hard to do, we've got it on tape. So it wouldn't take much. So then I say let them sue Justin Turner. Make him personally responsible for it because it's like, well, why were you there? Oh, I want to celebrate my teammates. Who cares? That's your problem. Celebrate via Zoom call.
And you know what I mean? Like they're not. They've already announced, which makes total sense. They're not going to have a parade right now until they can and it's safe to do so, which is good. I don't know if that's more on the Dodgers organization or the city of Los Angeles. I'm not sure, but
probably the city.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like you're going to be by that point. By the time they have a parade, if they ever do, if you don't die from it, which I hope you don't, you'll be healthy enough to be part of the parade.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I get it.
I mean, there are other opportunities.
Yeah. I think it just comes down that the consequences haven't been sufficient yet. Like, in
No.
all honesty, the reality is just there haven't been sufficient consequences. And until a high profile individual gets sick and either dies or has reduced lung capacity, which is another thing that has occurred, which would basically end their career. If it ends someone's career in Major League Baseball or one of the other professional sports because, oh, well, they didn't die, but their career's over.
Which
They
is
actually
quite
can't.
possible that could happen.
Yeah. And if something like that happens, then it's all of a sudden like alarm bells go off for some of the major league players. Wait, my livelihood is actually in danger. I'm no longer, because for them, it's like, well, I'm healthy enough that I should live through it. Yeah. But if your livelihood is threatened, if the possibility is such that it could damage your lungs to the point you can't play anymore, then all of a sudden it's reality will strike in. Like, wait a minute, hold on. Now where some of those teammates come up, now some of those teammates, as soon as somebody gets sick, it's like, oh, quarantine yourself. Get out. And then the pressure will come from within and from the outside at the same time. The pressure has to come from in the inside too. It can't just be from the outside only.
No. And I'd say 2 more points on this. So one, Justin Turner is also a player rep, right? Mm-hmm. Who has had multiple quotes on the record about how important the protocols are.
He thinks they're very important, Dave. Very important protocols.
The second point is, I mean, he is going to face some sort of punishment, no doubt. And I'm 98% sure that the Dodgers are going to face some sort of punishment, right? Which I both think is fair and warranted. But here's the problem. Major League Baseball is not going to have any kind of, responsibility here where they should have some, and then there's not going to be a punishment there. But did you see Joe Kelly's comments about it?
Nope.
So he basically said, I'm not surprised he caught COVID. And then he started talking about the hotel they stayed at, which was on a golf resort. And there were like people inside and outside the hotel all the time. He said his hotel room overlooked the 18th green, and he said there were people there all the time.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, so if that's the case, there was no bubble, right?
Dave, where was the World Series held?
Texas, Arlington, Texas. But where was the NBA held? In Orlando, and they managed to get through that.
Yeah,
and
but Adam Silver took it a little bit more seriously. He was like, no, when I say bubble, I mean none of you come in or out unless we check.
I honestly feel I think the NHL did a great job too. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, they were in Canada where the cases were a lot lower at the time. It still are, but obviously rising now. But yeah, if anyone, like commissioner-wise in terms of sports and how they're handling COVID, I feel Adam Silver is the gold star for that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it was out of necessity because he knew that some of the players were a lot more reluctant in basketball to do it. So they had to have those assurances, whereas some of these other ones were like, well, we're too stupid. We'll just do whatever. Because Major League Baseball's got its own issues because they're probably going to be facing a labor war coming up in this next year.
Yes.
And we'll kind of allude into that in a second. But let me quickly close off one of the points that we made earlier.
Sure.
So just for complete games, I was scanning the list a little earlier as you were chatting. And I was looking at it. Yeah. So Cy Young is obviously number one. But then Pud Galvin, and I'm going to read off a bunch of names. Stop me when you think one of these is not in the 19th or early 20th century. Pat Galvin, Tim Keefe, Kid Nichols, Walter Johnson, Bobby Matthews, Mickey Welch, Old Hoss Rathburn.
Love that name.
John Clarkson, Tony Mullane, Jim McCormick, Gus Wayhing, Pete Alexander, Christy Mathewson, Jake Powell, Eddie Plank, Will White, Amos Russi, Vic Willis, the incredible Tommy Bond, Warren Spahn. He's the only guy like in the 1960s so far. Jim Whitney, Adonis Terry, Ted Lyons, George Mullen, Jim Buffin, Chick Frazier, Clark Griffith, Red Ruffing, Silver King. Really, Silver King? Amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Al Orth.
Point taken though, Carlos.
Like, the reason none of you have heard of any of these is because you got to look on the back of your you got to look on the front of your T206 card to check most of these guys out. For some of them, you got to look back to the old judge cards. Google that shit. It's been a while. Most of these guys. So, in all seriousness, the next like modern-ish, and we're still talking golden era baseball guy, is you got to get to number 38, Robin Roberts, then Gaylord Perry, and then you got to get to Lefty Grove, who pitched in the 30s. Early Wynn, who's the 49th. So you're almost in the top 50. Bob Feller. Let me scroll here. Mordecai Brown is 60th. Ferguson Jenkins, number 63 on the list.
Yeah. So you're
just ahead of the infamous Icebox Chamberlain.
Oh, man, the good old baseball names, eh?
Icebox Chamberlain, who died in 1929. Woo!
God rest his soul. Icebox Chamberlain.
Yep. He seemed like a decent pitcher, but his career was over by the time he was 28 in 1896. Icebox Chamberlain.
I wonder if there's any Icebox Chamberlain cards that exist.
Mayhaps. This seems like an old Judge kind of guy. That would be my guess. Icebox Chamberlain. Now I'm fascinated. Please continue.
Yeah, well, I wish there was much more to say, but that in terms of the World Series and the dot and all that kind of jazz, that's where I leave it. I think the Dodgers have an excellent chance to repeat. They'll be there. They'll be in the mix of it next year, if there is a next year, because with Rob Manfred, you never know. Also, that the presentation of the Commissioner's Trophy and the MVP were horrible, like absolutely horrible, to the point where I thought he was having a stroke when he was announcing Corey Seager's MVP. Also well deserved for Corey Seager. Yeah, and now that we're in free agency and qualifying offers and all that jazz, MLB, since they've lost $3.1 billion this season, has said basically, if you're a mid-range to low-range guy, we're not going to qualify you at the money that we said we're going to pay you. See, Cleveland and Carlos Santana, who had a $17.5 million qualifying offer, which they canned, and Brad Hand, their closer, who I think led the league in saves this year. He definitely did a good job saving games for Cleveland this year, who was $10 million qualifying offer, which they declined. But here's the thing. They're actually paying people to pay them less money, right? That cost them to get out of Carlos Santana. It cost them $500,000, and to get out of Brad Hand cost them $1 million. And obviously there are other examples of this throughout the league, and I think there's going to be more as the days go ahead. But it's like, we're going to pay you $500,000, so we don't have to pay you $17.5 million. But in a lot of cases, but we still kind of want you on the team. So are you willing to accept less money? I think it's going to be a lot. It's really interesting to see, especially for a lot of the mid-tier guys, what they end up signing for and for how long.
That's fair. I think that's reasonable. That makes sense. Icebox!
Love it.
A good old Elton Chamberlain. You can get yourself an 1887 Old Judge Cigarettes Icebox Chamberlain. A hero to us all. And
that is what Carlos is showing on the screen right now.
Yes.
That card. So how much is that worth?
Wow, what it's worth is relative. What they're asking for right now is $4.99. Seems a little high to me, but mind you, some of those old Judge cards are kind of tough, and it's a decent condition example.
I like it.
So not terrible.
If I had an extra $500 just kicking around, I'd probably buy it.
If they took best offer, I'd probably make an offer. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Icebox Chamberlain. Icebox.
Sweet, man. That's sweet.
He goes in the all appliance team with Refrigerator Perry. Now there should be an appliance team. I kind of want that to be a thing.
Yeah, let's,
Icebox and refrigerator. What else we got?
How deep does that team go? Does it go deeper than two guys?
There's got to be an oven somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's got to be an oven somewhere in some sport. I have no idea. But anyway, so there you go. There's your Icebox Chamberlain moment. But the reality of it is that we'll see how the end of this year goes, because now that the season itself got to its conclusion, because like I said, everything got messed with. Baseball is the only one that sort of finished its season around-ish the normal time.
Yeah, I mean, this is when they would have finished it anyway. Maybe
exactly. So from that perspective,
gone into this weekend potentially.
Yeah, maybe. But from that perspective, for them, they at least have some time to figure out their reset. But by February would be the time that spring training would start getting going. So it's kind of interesting to see now what happens, because some of those machinations you're talking about, where the owners are now pleading poverty again, we're left with the same general problem, because the players are like, well, that isn't our problem. You guys screwed up because you've built this model where apparently you keep claiming you never make money, and then you keep wanting us to take the blame for that. Well, it's like, why don't you do better?
Yeah.
Why don't you have better revenue streams? Why don't you do a better job monetizing different things? Why don't you make a better product for thing? Because our job is to play. And if we're playing and we're playing under the rules you provided, why is it our fault that you guys claim you can't make money?
Yeah.
You're supposedly good business people. When does that start?
This is fair.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reality that a lot of these people have to encounter because it's just the truth. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Cool. All right.
So, shall we move on to your NFL talk, Carlos?
We will in a second, but first, one quick segue. So earlier I want to say this week, it might have been the week before, the Dallas Stars actually did a teaser for the new jerseys.
Okay.
And it looked like it was going to be like a black jersey, which is like, okay, that's cool. Because when it comes to the black jerseys, a lot of Dallas Star fans have a lot of fond memories of some of the different black jerseys through history. So I don't know, allow me for a moment to take you on a quick history down memory lane. So this was the early Dallas Star black jersey. This was a carryover. This is actually a carryover from Minnesota. So there's a couple of variations, but this is one of the earlier ones. The reason you can tell is that the last Minnesota North Star jersey looks a lot like this. The only differentiator is that you have these shoulder patches here with the Dallas. But if you remove the shoulder patches, that's basically the last Minnesota North Star jersey.
Okay.
Then they made a modification to it where obviously the shoulder patches got in, but then obviously the word Dallas showed up here.
Right.
So that became the thing.
Above the word Stars.
Correct. But for the most part, it stayed. They changed the color of this to make this white because this is kind of the color scheme that they used on the Minnesota North. That's why I say this is kind of the in-between.
Right.
This is almost like a first-year Dallas Star jersey, basically, when they made the transition over from Minnesota.
Okay.
So this is kind of the in-between. And the key point is that people were kind of envisioning something like that as a retro. So a retro as a potential third jersey. But what ended up happening, and what makes me sad, is that the way I found out about this was Ogs. Ogs pinged me on Facebook and sent me the link. And then as soon as I saw it, this is what I encountered. Let me show you. This.
No.
It's neon, Dave.
No.
It's so like neon.
No, that should never be worn on a hockey rink. That should never really be worn unless you're playing, I don't know, laser tag.
So what you're saying is...
Yes. Dear God, why? Oh, it's okay. So what you have here, for the people who can't see it, please Google it. You have, a regular hockey jersey. It's black. It's got the logo. Go back to the first picture so I can describe this for people again. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Right. So it's got the D, the star with the D in front of it. They have Texas behind that, and a couple of stripes.
The state of Texas, the shape of the state of Texas.
Yeah. And then stripes on the arms, and it's like, yeah, it's glow in the dark neon. Like this takes me back to some like traumatic games of laser tag that I've had in the past, Carlos. Like, what the fuck? No, just get that off my screen, please.
Oh, I will in a moment. A second here.
Why did anyone think that was a good idea? I do not understand.
Right there, Dave.
Yeah, Carlos explains why hockey shouldn't be in a rave. Please, Carlos.
See, the key here, Dave, is that... So I'm just going to flip through a couple of these other pictures for those of you who have the benefit of video. This right here is...
And honestly, if you don't, you're probably... This is one you should watch. It shouldn't watch. You should just listen to because of this right here.
So what you're saying is avert your eyes.
Yes, avert your eyes.
So the problem here is, Dave, not only am I too old for a rave, when I was the correct age for a rave, I was too old for a fucking rave. There was no point in my life at which I was the correct age for a rave. It didn't matter. Like I basically skipped over rave age. Like it just never happened for me, ever. The thing is, I'm sure they thought this seemed like a cool idea, but it's like, Dave, I don't understand. I wanted this. This is what I wanted. This is all I wanted.
You're basically going the throwback to the first Dallas jersey.
I just wanted them, or you could have done the one where the numbers and the A and whatever were white, because that was basically what they were wearing circa the Stanley Cup years. Why don't you bring people back to the Stanley Cup memory years instead of whatever this is?
Ugh, just please stop, Carlos.
Now the key is keeping down my theory here, and I'm going to switch back to this one here. The key is that this is still not the worst jersey they've ever had. But it's close. It's very close. The worst jersey they ever had is still this guy.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible.
Yes, the infamous Mooterus.
Yep. I'm not even going to explain this. Just Google it.
Yeah, just avert your eyes. See, that's why I say, like, I can't even claim the neon one is the worst because I've still got the Mooterus.
Yeah. And
Like,
if you don't know what that means,
you can Google that. You can go if you Google Mooterus jersey, this will come up.
And it makes sense. It is like whoever coined that term is bang on.
That is not an old term. That is an old term. That was right at the time they came out. Everyone was like, and also they were asking, why red? Where did the red come in? Like, who even thought that was a good idea? I feel so sorry for everyone in that franchise. So this segment was called Dear God, Why? I'm keeping the heading. It can fit to so many things. So yes. Yeah, so hockey's not a rave, Dave.
No.
It's not a rave. It shouldn't be a rave.
It should not be.
If the ice girls want to have neon clothing, that's fine. That's legit. But on the ice, for God's sake, what are the players going to wear? Going to flash around glow sticks? Is that the plan? Because at least that'd be funny for one game. But as a general thing, no. Like, when are you going to use that stupid neon jersey?
No, thank you. Get rid of it.
And also, the whole neon thing is going to look like shit when you actually are in properly lit arena. Like, it's like if it's actually glow in the dark, that's kind of cool, but at the same time, only kind of cool when you're in a rave.
Yep.
It all comes back around to Electric Circus, Dave.
Apparently it does. I did not realize it was going to, and I really wish it didn't, but it does. It did.
See, the problem is they decided this after Electric Circus went off the air. It was too late. We were so late. So there you go. I just thought it'd take us a little departure there. We went from Icebox Chamberlain to raves. Where can we go next?
How about the NFL?
Yeah, I think we're week 7, week 8.
It's week 7. No, I think it's week 8. I don't know. It's week. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check, but whatever.
I think it's week 7.
I think it's week 7 too.
All right, so we're just looking to see if there's any kind of connection. Is it week 8 officially? So everybody's had a bye week then? Okay, cool.
Well, not everybody's had a bye week, but
okay.
We've still got.
I see a lot of 7-game records, so I assumed. Okay, maybe somebody's got an 8-game record. I don't know. Fair enough. Okay, cool. So we're looking at week 8 then in the National Football League. Just going to look at a couple of these matchups here. Just kind of get a bit of an idea what's going on. It's no Icebox Chamberlain, but we'll make it do.
Few things are though, Carlos.
I'm so excited about this Icebox Chamberlain revelation. This is exciting. So yeah, looking at a couple of these matchups, Pittsburgh's taking on Baltimore,
which that should be the best one.
I like that. Almost as exciting as the Jets taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you know what the line is on the Jets and Chiefs, Dave?
Is it 19.5?
I've seen it as high as 20.5.
Because my app has 19.5.
Are you talking about the score app?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got it as high as 20.5 in some places.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of those things where it's like I understand why they did it, because you're almost like compelled, where you're like, okay, but at the same time, you can't possibly think that they're going to lose by that many. Yeah, and ProLine has it at 20.5 as well.
But they might.
The thing though is you use that logic, but at the same time you're like, okay, so let's say they're up by 24. Let's use that number, 24.
Okay.
And late in the third quarter or something.
All right.
They pull Mahomes, they pull Kelsey, they pull Le'Veon Bell, they pull Andy Reid, they pull Derek Bieniemy, they pull the cheerleaders. Everyone's gone. There are fans wearing Kansas City Chiefs jerseys on the field. You're telling me the Sam Darnold can't score a garbage time touchdown to make it 17? Yeah! We beat the spread!
Maybe, but I'm not convinced that it'll happen.
That's kind of the one thing you're worried about, like a backdoor cover. You're like, sure. They're up by so much.
I still like my bet, though. Even if that did happen, I'd still be like, I feel good about this.
I don't know. You feel like the Chiefs fans can hold off the dominant Jets offense?
Yeah. Ugh.
Did I mention the shot? I already mentioned this in a previous episode, but the schadenfreude I get watching Jets fan live streams.
Yeah,
joy, Dave. The joy. It was so good that in the last episode, one of the guys basically dressed up with a donkey head and pretended to be Adam Gase while the other guy interviewed him.
Nice.
Yeah. It was so good. And they went for it. They went for it for about 15 minutes. It was fantastic. The other guy could barely keep a straight face. There were moments where the Adam Gase guy basically was doing certain things, and the first guy started cracking up. He was just dying. And afterwards, they're like, "This is the most brilliant and stupid thing you guys have ever done." It's like, "Oh well, we got to find a way."
Yeah, for sure.
Because they were basically they would do live streams as well during the games, and they would like drink themselves into a stupor during the game, and then do the post game to talk about it. So now imagine if you had your various New Orleans Saints losses, and right after spending your time drinking, watching it, then I put you on a live stream. Right at the moment.
Let's do it.
It's called entertainment. Hashtag entertainment. So yeah, so that one's going to be bad. So what's interesting is like,
you know what, the game. Okay.
Go ahead. All I was going to say is,
I think the
swear to God,
the other game. Sorry, man. The game one of the games that stands out to me is Buffalo, New England.
Yeah, sort of. I would like it more if I was seeing more from Cam. I haven't been impressed. Like, he's got this is an opportunity for him to showcase, and he's not really taking advantage. Now, I grant you, New England is not like a vaunted offense. I get that. But what's irritating me, here's what's irritating me. What's irritating me is it's allowing the Tom Brady apologists to have the narrative, where at the same time I go, like, the Tampa Bay offense is vastly superior. We know the New England offense is not good. But
it wasn't great with Brady last year.
Yeah, correct. But then they get to pretend now. They're like, oh, but look at how great Tom Brady is. He played a couple of good games, and now he gets to pretend. Basically, the only person happy about this is Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans and Skip Bayless. That's basically it. The rest of us are sitting there like, oh, for God's sake, could you just play a decent team so we can see you get crushed a couple of times? That'd be kind of fun. Unfortunately, you're playing the New York Football Giants, so that ain't it.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, I want no part of the Monday Nighter this week. No part. Because
that's unwatchable. Like, that's just unwatchable. Flat out. Speaking of unwatchable, the Sunday Nighter is Dallas and Philadelphia.
How did that not get flexed? Really? Like, I feel like it's,
hold on, I got this, Dave.
You know what? But as we say, okay, so here's the question for that one. So 2 questions on that one. First of all, how the hell did it not get flexed? But second of all, okay, well, you know what? Sometimes if 2 teams that are horrible play each other, it could actually make for a very entertaining game. I'm not going to say a good game, but
Dave, you have to understand, these are the 2 division leaders.
I know. But my bigger question is, who's quarterbacking Dallas?
It's like DiMaggio.
Right? Like, what? Again, so I go back to the original point. How the hell did this not get flexed?
DeLorean. Hold on. I'll get the real answer. Hold on.
The third string guy was basically the answer.
Yeah, basically after Dak Prescott died and Andy Dalton died, Ben DiNucci. There you go. Ben DiNucci.
DeLorean.
Woo! This here is now my favorite one of my taglines. Just, that's it right there.
That's it. Honestly, that's all you need to say.
Yes.
Right?
The 2-5 Dallas Cowboys taking on the slightly better 2-4-1 Philadelphia Eagles in a battle of.
You see, you could have just said that at the beginning of the podcast, put on this banner, and just left the screen on for an hour, and there's your podcast. Like, you know, put some music on so people listening have something to listen to. You know.
Yeah.
Or just loop you laughing or us laughing for like the whole time.
That basically, yes. Right? That's basically.
I may actually watch it for the sheer train wreck, you know. Whereas I feel Monday night is unwatchable. I don't know. I feel like the train wreck potential of Sunday night's game is good because I feel like.
I'm watching that game. Like as ludicrous as it is, I'm watching it. All right,
I feel like some ridiculous thing, like totally, completely, utter ridiculous, is going to happen in that game.
Dave, nothing would give me greater joy than if the Sunday Nighter happens. One of these 2 moronic teams will win this division because the Giants are crap. The Giants are garbage. Although,
football team could do it.
I swear to God, if they beat Tampa Bay at 1-6 with the garbage they've got. No Saquon, whatever it is they've got left. If they beat it'd be just hilarious. It's like afterwards they're like, how did you guys pull off this massive upset against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team? We did it for Eli. It's like off of this is the whole Manning family. Like, you'll never beat us, Brady. You'll never beat us.
I'd be cool for that.
I'd be kind of great.
They actually sign Eli Manning back for the
out
game.
of retirement. Out of retirement is like, don't worry. It's like, don't worry, Danny. I got this. He goes, hey, I own this dude.
Just remember,
I own him so hard.
Right when they went one game away from being perfect, but that one game was the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but then he also beat him again.
Yeah,
the point is the fact that it's like they bring in Eli for no other reason. It's like, why are you can't even play anymore. Doesn't matter. I can beat this dude. I've got his number.
I've done it twice.
He is
vastly inferior teams.
It's like, none of you may believe in me. None of you may think I'm a good quarterback anymore. We didn't think you were a good quarterback before. None of you may believe in me. But you know what? Tom Brady is my Glass Joe. I beat him every time. Every single fucking time.
That's exactly, man. Why is this not happening? Why is no one talking about this happening? Come on, Eli.
It's the right thing to do. It's what the Giants need to do. It's not what we want. It's what we deserve. It's what I want. But it's not what we collectively want. But it's what we deserve, and it's what I want.
Exactly.
All right, let me talk about a couple of these other matches because I got a lot of mileage out of this. Oh, so
good. I don't really have much to say about anything unless you're going to talk Saints Bears, which you probably aren't. So
no, I'll mention it for a minute. Okay. So let me quickly go through the rest of this docket here. Okay, so we got LA, Miami, don't care. The Jets KC is going to be a train wreck for a different reason. That'll be funny. Minnesota Green Bay is not necessarily going to be competitive. What's interesting about this one from a betting perspective, because I look at it from that perspective as well, I was legitimately trying to find interesting games to wager on. Like even I ended up having to come up with a parlay. Like the best I could do was I had to try to combine some stuff to try to like come up with something that looked interesting. And because the individual outcomes don't really do much, because one of the things that I don't like to do, and it's logical why, I don't like to just bet on a gigantic favorite, because it's like, okay, well then how much money do you have to bet just to win a couple of bucks?
Yeah.
It's not great. You don't want it really. So what I ended up doing, I believe here, if I'm quickly scanning. Okay. So I got a 3-team parlay. I got the Saints beating the Bears. We'll talk about the Saints in a second. I got the Chiefs beating the Jets. That's a shocker. And then I got the Packers beating the Vikings. So it's a 3-team parlay to make it a decent. I basically had to play this pro line rules because it's the best I could do to come up with a decent outcome, because all of these are like heavy favorites, like really heavy favorites.
And I'm not sure the Saints should be a heavy favorite in this game,
but they're the ones that keep this from being like, bet $5,000 to win $1.27 and a ham sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's like, otherwise the odds are so stacked. Like the Chiefs are literally 1.05 to 1. You get 5 cents for every dollar. So you have to combine it with this other stuff to make it even look decent.
Of course.
Otherwise, you got to bet thousands of dollars to get anything out of it. So yeah, not so great. Indy taking on Detroit. Las Vegas taking on Cleveland could be kind of funny.
It could be.
Cleveland is like the worst 5-2 team I've ever seen.
And now they have no Odell Beckham.
They're still the worst 5-2 team I've ever seen. Tennessee, who...
But they could get worse is my point, Carlos. They could get worse.
Yeah. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the 5-2 Cleveland Browns. You got Tennessee at 5-1 taking on Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Joe Burrows at 1-5-1. It looks like they're both 5-1 until you realize there's a 1 in front of the 5-1. Oh, there's 3 numbers. Oh, they also have a tie. I see. New England taking on Buffalo, which you mentioned already. The Chargers taking on the Denver Broncos. They're both 2-4. It feels like there's a lot of shitty teams this year. Like a lot of shitty teams.
Yeah.
Damn. San Francisco at 4-3 is actually not very good. I think 4-3 is flattering. Taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who lost to freaking Kyler Murray. Okay. But they're 5-1. They've otherwise been good. They've otherwise been good.
Highly entertaining game that I wasn't watching because I was watching baseball. But,
Yeah, but at least Seattle is decent. Like they're a flawed team, but they're a decent flawed team.
Absolutely.
And
I feel they could contend. Absolutely.
Oh, I expect them to be there at the end of the NFC. Like this NFC is garbage. With due respect, like this NFC is garbage this year. The upside is that the AFC is garbage. Is there like a third option? Can I pick the third league? Can we bring back the AAF? Can I pick them?
No, but you can pick the Rocks XFL. Your choice.
Fantastic. Glorious. All right. Last one on the docket that I didn't already make fun of. Oh, wait, hold on. The Falcons beat somebody. Woo!
And they tried to give it up at the end too, right?
They tried.
But somehow they weren't able to this time.
Well, they already fired that coach, so that's done with that. So that just leaves us with one final game here on the docket that we haven't already either talked about or made fun of. All right, let's take a moment on this, Dave. In the spirit of, I'm going to switch. We're going to go with this. All right.
So that's Porque for anyone listening.
The New Orleans Saints taking on Nick Foles and the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are 5-2, even though they're crap. Taking on the New Orleans Saints, who are 4-2, even though they're kind of crap. They won their last 3 games, sort of ish, technically. It counts? Question mark?
And my thing is here. So last week, New Orleans played Carolina and won by a field goal.
The Carolina that lost by 8 points to the Atlanta fucking Falcons on Thursday night.
Without their 2 top receivers.
Yep.
Right? And so theoretically, you could argue maybe Marquez Callaway, their 3rd best receiver. He was the leading receiver in the game. And now he's injured too. So if you say he's number 3, New Orleans will now take on this team without their 3 best wide receivers.
What about Taysom Hill?
Well, it depends where he slots in as. Do you qualify him as a receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he just some dude?
I've been told he's a quarterback of the future. So the obvious move is to make Taysom Hill the quarterback and make Drew Brees a wide receiver.
Right.
That seems like fair. The obvious move. That's the obvious move.
Whatever they do, next week they need to start Jameis Winston.
Ooh. Bring in the GOAT. That's a
right?
that's a 4D.
They're playing Tampa Bay.
That's a 4D chess move, bro. That's a 4D chess move.
Playing Tampa Bay and potentially Antonio Brown as well.
Bruh, are you saying in back-to-back weeks Tampa Bay could be facing the ghost of Eli Manning and Jameis Winston? Can I take?
You know you wanted to happen, Carlos.
Lose by.
Said, it may not be what people want, but it's what they deserve.
Could you imagine if that stupid scenario played out and then somehow Tampa Bay is like 5-4 and they're like, Eli Manning was retired. Jameis Winston wasn't even supposed to be playing. How did I lose to both of them? We didn't score a single point and we lost by 114 combined points.
Oh, I would love that so much, Carlos.
I don't think the football gods are that kind to us.
I don't think so either, but
I like to dream.
Hey,
I like to dream.
You know,
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I mean, and then Chicago's receiver Allen Robertson, who they didn't think was going to play because of concussion, is probably now going to play. So,
and Michael Thomas is trying to like declare war on the team, from what I understand, or something like that.
Yeah,
there's some weird shit going on with Michael Thomas too.
There is, which we can maybe get into at a different time. But yeah, I mean, I don't love the Saints in this game, but they're playing the Chicago Bears, who are far worse than their actual record. But if I had to bet on this game, I'd probably bet the Bears. It's also in Chicago, right? I'm pretty sure.
Oh, for all that means.
Well, hey, Saints in cold weather, man.
Well, if they bring in Jameis, it's a lock.
Well, but are they going to bring in Jameis?
I don't know if they have the guts. Sean Payton, you know what to do. Unlock the GOAT, bro. Unlock the GOAT. Just saying.
There we go.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a bit of a questionable slate. There's some games here that I'll watch just because I feel like this is coming up on another one of the Red Zone weekends, Dave. This is feeling a lot like a just fire up Red Zone and just watch whatever is in scoring position.
Well, or you do what you should do is you have the Green Bay game on one screen, and then you have Red Zone on the other screen.
Yeah, it's like I think the way the season is played out, I'm just staring at it going like,
yeah, Porque, indeed.
For the whole season. It's just been like a resounding like.
Yeah. Carlos is pointing to the word Porque in case anyone is wondering what he's doing. But yes, I agree with you, sir.
Yeah.
It's been weird.
It's been very weird. It's very weird. Yeah.
And it's going to get weirder because other people are going to get COVID. So.
Yeah, but whatever. Like, here's the thing. Like,
no, but what I say by that though is, it's always the potential, and it's always over there that going into a playoff. So I mean, what happens, right? Going into a playoff game, we're not there yet. But what if we go into the playoff game and half the team gets COVID? That one team doesn't get it, and the other team gets half the guys, and like their star quarterback's one of them. What do? Right? The potential for oddity and weirdness and whatever is still high. And we'll see if they decide to bubble for the playoffs or what they decide to do, which I think is still in play potentially.
It's the NFL, 0% chance. That would require them to think.
Why can't Adam Silver just run all 4 leagues?
At this point, he might as well, because he's like, God, you guys are bad. He should just walk in and be like, you guys are so bad at this. Like, you're so bad. This isn't even my sport, but you know what? You do this, but do this. Get out.
I would support that in pretty much any sport that I watch. Adam Silver, come take over.
Adam Silver's now the commissioner of sports. Period.
Worldwide.
It's like, just take it all over. Just
what
fix
exactly
everything.
do you know about cricket? More than you think. Okay, Adam Silver, please fix it.
Yeah, just leave Aussie rules alone. They're fine.
All right. There you go. The commissioner of sports, except Aussie rules football.
Yeah, just leave them alone. They're Aussies. They'll handle their business. They got to fight gigantic spiders, Dave. You think Corona is going to slow them down?
And they've been doing it fairly well with COVID. So
yeah, so it's like, what's the issue? What's the issue? Yeah, this is a weird slate, man. Like I didn't get a chance to like look at it this way, and it's like, huh. All right then. Okay. Anyway, so that's good. Yeah. Other than that, as we speak tonight, Anderson Silva will be taking on somebody in the UFC. I don't remember who, so I was trying to look it up. But in the meantime, you guys can have this. Yeah. I had to give Dave the Rave jersey one more time. It's just the right thing to do, everybody. It's the right thing to do. So bad. Like, why would they think this is a good... Do you have any idea, Dave? Jokes aside. Do you have any idea how badly I wanted to buy a stupid black jersey if they had gone back to like the retro? I wanted the retro so badly.
I mean, you were prepared to drop a considerable sum of money on, Stanley Cup gear if they had gone that way. Obviously, they didn't win, so you didn't get it. But, so you're waiting, man. You've got the money. You're ready to do it. And people just keep letting you down. That's twice by one team.
Well, the thing is that I don't think they're going to change it up for a while, because it's one of those things where like this was an opportunity. Right now, coming off a Stanley Cup Finals run, they had a chance to. They like to do the rebrand thing every couple of years. They came out with a black jersey a couple of years ago. It was fine. It was just like a Dallas on the front of it. It was okay. It was whatever. But it was one of those things like, no, just do the classic stars. This is an alternate. This is the third jersey. Just go back to the retro. You will sell that. That was the Stanley Cup year retro.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. That was the part I couldn't figure out. I was like, I don't understand why you guys are fighting the Stanley Cup, era retro jersey.
Hey, it could be worse, Kraus. It could be the Mooterus.
But that was a questionable decision back then too.
It was.
I couldn't figure that one out either. It was just bizarre. It was just like, why are you guys doing this? Why can't you just leave things alone?
Yeah, right. Sometimes it's like, why mess with a good thing?
Well, because they get personal pleasure, I guess, from messing with the thing all the time.
Apparently.
Yeah, there's a whole marketing department. Like, I've never understood the whole rationale behind it. There is a rationale, I'm sure, but it's one of those things where it's like, whatever the rationale is, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, at least you've got semi-decent football, maybe, possibly, questionably.
Did I not put the Porquet on the screen a couple times already?
At least in maybe 1 or 2 games?
Here. This is what I'm talking about. This was here in the Stanley Cup era.
There you go.
See?
So there's the black jersey he's showing you, which looks more or less the same as the first one we described.
Yeah, the only thing they really did was they fixed up this part here. Like I said, they changed the colors of these, and then they put the word Dallas here, which is a little hard to see in this picture, but I assure you it's there.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's it. That was the Stanley Cup era jersey. It's fine.
It's a lot better than what you showed me in the neon.
It's such a simple jersey to make though. Like, it's not like they have to do a lot. And the thing is, it's historically accurate. They already used that jersey for years without incident. Just bring it back. We like retro jerseys. Just bring back retro jerseys. This color scheme is not a mistake. It was what was done at the time.
Yeah, man. No, I hear you.
Anyway, whatever. All right. So that covers, I think, all of that for now. I think that's good. Anything else that we want to talk about or haven't covered?
The only thing I would like to say real quick, but R.I.P. Sean Connery, the first James Bond, a legend.
Yes. He was. I would say that he is probably the best James Bond, but I will say that Daniel Craig has accounted himself well in the current
Absolutely.
iteration of Bond. Like he's done very well with that. And I think isn't a new Bond movie coming out next year?
Unless they postpone it again, because it was supposed to be this year in April, then they postponed it to November. Now they postponed it to next year. So it's done and ready to go. It's just a question of when it actually gets released.
I'm trying to think now, though. Doesn't that make him very close to the longest serving Bond?
In terms of actual years or in terms of movies?
In terms of years.
Probably in terms of years. In terms of movies, no. Because he's made, what, I think this is his fifth movie? And Roger Moore and Sean Connery both made 7.
Is that the right number? Just taking a look here. Portrayal of James Bond in film. Just looking. Okay, so let's do Sean Connery here. How many movies we got? Here we go. Sean Connery and James Bond in Doctor No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever, and then the non-canon was Never Say Never Again in '83, which doesn't count technically, but he was James Bond in that
It is
movie.
his 7th movie, though.
Yeah, so we'll say 7 for the sake of argument. Fine.
And then Roger Moore did Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy Who Loved Me, For Your Eyes Only,
Moonraker,
View to a Kill, and Octopussy.
Yes. Look at you. So yeah, 7 for that one as well. Dalton had just a 2. Pierce Brosnan had the 4. And right now, Daniel Craig has the 5.
Yeah.
But right now, that means he's right now at about 15 years doing it.
Which I think is the most. Because back before, they were putting them out every couple of years. It was every year for a bit, and then it became every 2 till 89.
I think the other thing that also messed it up is that, and this is going to be very tricky as far as timing. He's just ahead of Roger Moore, who did it for 13 years. But at the same time, I guess it also depends. It's a little bit of a cheating thing because Sean Connery had his run and then Lazenby in the middle and then came back and did it again.
Correct.
So he went 62 to 67, 5 years, and then 71 to 83, which is 12 years. But the 12 years also includes Never Say Never Again, which technically doesn't count.
Yep, fair enough.
So fair enough. But Daniel Craig's had himself a distinguished run as James Bond.
Yes.
5 movies in 15 years. That's still pretty good. Pretty good.
And they're 4, hopefully 5, good movies. They're all solid.
Yeah, and I think that's key as well. So there you go. Fair enough. R.I.P. Sean Connery as well. He was a great actor outside of the James Bond movies. In general, he was an excellent actor with a lot of good stuff because he was in the first Highlander movie, I think, as well.
Yep.
Interesting character in that one, and also he was Indiana Jones' dad.
Yep. The Rock.
Yeah, a lot of good movies. A lot of good movies, without question. That's fair. That's fair. So I think that's it for us this episode. We had a little bit of fun going a couple different places. I had fun with headings.
You did.
Hey, listen, I expect Benny T to comment on his own inclusion. He got himself.
I'll get him on it, buddy. Don't worry.
Oh, you better. Oaks already gets plenty of play. Like he already gets plenty of publicity. He doesn't need help. You know, we've been his PR department for long enough, Dave.
It's fair.
Anyway, so congratulations on your team winning. Sad that you don't have any swag, but what are you going to do? We'll see if we can figure out the situation about shipping the swag because that's going to be the key. Did you actually end up ordering any of it though, or do you just kind of?
I ordered a hat and a hoodie.
Okay, the hat and the hoodie.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Now 'tis the season, so I expect some serious hoodie wearage in the next at some point in the next couple of podcasts.
If it ever arrives, you got it, buddy.
Oh yeah, good times. All right, cool. So that's it for Dave and myself. We'll get back to you. No mentions of anything related to Sir Mascots. No Mr. Peanut, but we did have a healthy dose of Dear God, Why? And
Porque.
And with that, I leave you with Rolling Neymar. No, not going to do it today.
Yeah.
I was tempted. I'm not going to lie to you. I was tempted.
He'll be back soon. Don't worry.
Yeah. And there'll be a time and a place. Anyway, so that's it. You can find us on iTunes, Google, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Also on YouTube. If you've been watching our ADC, then you would be watching on YouTube right now. So keep doing that. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Leave an inappropriate comment. I'll probably delete it, but at least we know you. But at least we know you cared enough to write something. Dave liked that one. It's like, leave an inappropriate puppet. I'll delete it, but at least we know you cared enough to write something angry.
And we appreciate the caring. We do.
Absolutely. We always appreciate the caring. So that's it for myself and Dave. We'll catch you in the next episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense Podcast.